The reason why most men get married is because they need an accountability partner.
I am not touching that.
Come on, James.
I'm going to leave that one.
James, your thoughts?
Nope.
No? All right.
Let me ask you the last... I don't actually have an opinion, so...
It might be just the first marriage.
Yeah.
You talk about it privately. We talk about it publicly. This is the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered Podcast. Welcome again to the Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Dwiggy, along with crazy Uncle Keith.
Yes, sir.
And man, we got to have one of the most insightful, brilliant founders of anyone in residential real estate, Mr. Glenn Sanford, founder and CEO of eXp World Holdings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to start. I'll let you drive, but man, this was a conversation.
Yeah, I've chatted with Glenn before, but this is by far the longest conversation I've had with Glenn, where we were just really rolling up our sleeves. We covered ground. We talked about the origin story of eXp, the importance of differentiation, how that factored into what he was building, about how the copycats turned up. You'll be surprised about that one, at least I was. The trials and tribulations of building a brand, and the story about raising a bunch of money in a few weeks was memorable. Those times where you have to save your company as an entrepreneur. He shared some of that with us. He also talks about avoiding the traps of being a publicly held company, what it's like as a founder, finding a CEO as he handed the reins over for that part of the business, how he's grown internationally with him and his team, how they've done it differently. I loved his concept of a wisdom-based economy being in the future, the accountability of the wallet, and a lot more. You are going to love this conversation. Put it in your ears, kids.
Glenn, welcome to the podcast. We are first honored and excited to have you here. We've had a few of your executive leadership on the pod. We've never actually got to have you on the pod. So we're really grateful that you're spending some time with us today. We've known you for a while, have obviously been in lots of industry functions together and all of those things. But if there isn't somebody on planet Earth, at least in residential real estate, who doesn't know who you are, would you mind just giving kind of a quick background, how long you've been in the industry, how you became, to build this incredible company? And I'm sure we'll have a lot of follow-ups along the way, but we'll let you start with that. So
thanks, James and Keith, for having me on. So I got into real estate 23 years ago. And in a formal sense, actually in 97, I was doing some internet marketing stuff, and I was trying to get a real estate firm to actually use some domain names that I had picked up. And so I had a kind of a little foray, but to actually be professionally employed in the industry in a traditional sense, I started in April 2002, built an online practice, started a team in 2004. I was a glutton for punishment, so instead of starting just one, I started 6 teams in 1 year.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then 2007 started my first boutique real estate brokerage, and then 2008 pretty much crash and burn like everybody else. 2009 came around, and blank sheet of paper, which was basically trying to figure out how to actually make money in the business in a really sucky market, and it came up with this brilliant idea, which turned out to be pretty good, called eXp.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the early stages, and of course now we're 27, 28, 29 countries and 83,000 agents plus or minus, and it has been a little bit of a
whirlwind,
a crazy growth story for sure.
Do they all have your cell phone number, Glenn?
Well, even if they did, it wouldn't matter because I never answer my cell phone.
That's how you know. I find that aspirational. I cannot wait to get there to where I never answer my cell phone. I have a question, because not everybody would have. We all went through 2008, 2009 in different ways. And to go through that, I don't know, leveling experience, and to then grab a blank piece of paper and sort of have that sort of Phoenix rebirth. Not everybody's wired like that. What was that process like? Like, how did you? Some people might have chosen to do, I'm going to get out of this whole crazy industry and go some other direction, but like you used it as fuel to craft what you've now built, which is eXp Realty. How did that process? What was that like?
So it sounds pretty well. It was significant, but I'd come out of 2008 with 6 of the top real estate ranked websites in the country. So we were number 1 for Seattle real estate, number 1 for the town I'm in, Bellingham real estate, number 2 for Phoenix, number 1 for Nashville, number 1 for Las Vegas real estate. So I had all these domains that were generating me a bit of business. I was a SEO nerd, geek, what have you. And what I recognized was just that there was some challenges with owning real estate brokerage. You guys know it's bricks and mortar is can be a slightly expensive piece, especially when there's not a lot of business going on.
Yeah.
But I'm a very much of a, like, don't fight what is. And what was is that we couldn't afford physical bricks and mortar. So we had basically got rid of our offices at the time. And then the light bulb was, and actually it was one of our team leaders who ran our Seattle team. She said, "When do we get our offices back?" And she was a little bit of, and we've all have these people in our lives that literally they get their teeth into an idea and they won't let it go.
Yeah.
And I needed to shut this down before it even got started, because I already knew that this was not going to end well for me mentally if I let her keep on sort of pecking at me with this. And I said, we're not getting our offices back. We've got to build a defensible business model that's not dependent on bricks and mortar. And I said it to shut her down. That was, and then I'm going, that's a pretty good idea. Like, we should do that.
Right.
It's a great idea, Glenn. I should get on that. Yeah. That's funny.
And then that was in February of 2009. And so between then and really around by about June or July of 2009, we'd ideated a business model that I thought made sense. And if you've heard me on different stages, I talk about the idea that I'm a focus group of one. And why that's an important piece is that, if we're one out of a million, there's like thousands of us around the world. Like, a focus group of one actually turns out to actually cover a pretty good gambit of our industry with millions of, million plus agents. And I started to look at, what was I looking for? And if only, 5 or 10% of the industry was looking for the same thing, that was a pretty big market to go after, of building a real estate brokerage that, had different, values than the typical brokerage of the time. And we just said, let's see if it works. And one of my favorite quotes that I heard it come out of my mouth, and I go, oh, that's pretty good, which was, this is either going to work or it's not going to work. And if it doesn't work, we're all looking for work. And so that was my motivational speech to the team.
That's that's not exactly chicken soup for the soul, Glenn, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
But what's interesting is I throw this out there. Timing is also, I think, a key in a lot of really brilliant ideas. And we had just all come out of a market where we all got our heads caved in. I mean, Keith and I met in 2008, going through the same downturn that everybody else did, going, this isn't work. This is bad. And
we just didn't build EXP.
We didn't build EXP at all. We should have been having cocktails with you, Glenn, instead of each other. But my point was, the timing was probably also very good for you, because you've got people going, my overhead's too high. Like, I can't make it work. How do we change this model? And I'm not taking that away from you, but that idea and the timing was also brilliant, because everyone's going, we got to figure out how to do this model differently. And then you came out of the gates running with this concept, and obviously it's turned into this massive.
Sometimes the smartest ideas are the simplest, right? And there's only 2 big expense lines in operating a brokerage. It's salaries and rent. and you can't get rid of the people. That's not going to work. So you need the salaries. You could streamline it, optimize it, whatever. But like the one you could actually eliminate and see what happens, which is what you did, is rent. So it's elegantly simple. But you had the intestinal fortitude to do it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I was going to say balls, but I said intestinal
because everybody's used to having their own private office.
Right,
Every realtor is like, I got to have my own space, and it's like a rite of passage to have a private facility. So you were the leader in, honestly, a movement that the whole industry's changed. Let's go to our rapid fires real fast, and then let's
Can I ask
actually
one
dive
more
in.
first?
Yeah,
I know
go.
we're already like 10 minutes in and we haven't gotten to rapid fires, but the last one, and this one will be quick, I think. But so then pandemic hits. Right.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
And then were you just like, I told you MFers all along this would work? Or like, was that a victory lap for you, or what was that? What was that like?
It's going to sound kind of strange, but we were growing 2015, we grew 100%.
Yeah.
2016, we grew like 240%. Like we were in this
You were
sort of
growing
hockey
anyway.
stick.
Yeah.
But what, I actually, the reason why I don't like the fact that COVID happened is because a bunch of other people figured out they could do it too.
Yeah. You're like, this was
a really good comment.
Now the whole world knows. Oh, that's
well, they were
like,
forced to operate virtually.
Yeah.
And then they figure out, well, do I really need the office or not? And that became kind of the for us, when all the copycats started to show up, because all of a sudden they figured out that we weren't
this can be
as
done.
kooky as we look.
Well, they were forced to. Yeah, I mean, everybody was forced to.
No one
work
had a
from
choice.
Home. Yeah,
everyone
you had to figure it out. That's actually, I never even thought of that, Glenn, until you just said that. I didn't even cross my mind until you just said that. Like, you're like, no, actually, it wasn't good for us. So, I mean, but look, you guys were on a just terror, and obviously still are. You're the largest residential brokerage in the United States. So, like, it hasn't slowed you down. We'll dive more into that. Let's do these rapid fires, because I'm actually really curious what you're going to say.
Yep. So, okay, this one is selfish for me because I'm an avid reader and podcast consumer. So, favorite book or podcast this year ever, and why?
Yeah. So, book, The Coming Wave. Leo actually brought that sort of my awareness, and basically it's the
AI book, right?
Yeah, it's the AI book. Yeah, mm-hmm. and then the other one, which is a bit more nerdy, business nerd, is a podcast called At Work with the Ready. It's pretty it's pretty niche-y.
Yeah.
But I nerd out on org design to create outcomes, and it's like, how do you scale an organization? Well, a lot of it has to do with your org design.
Interesting. I've not heard of that. I will check out that podcast.
Explains
for sure.
You and Leo are two peas in a pod. Explains so much, which we'll get into that as well. All right, mine is if you could have lunch with one person, current or historical, who would it be and why?
I'll tell you what I did on this one. I don't. There's not somebody that's like really top of mind, but my AI told me that I should go have lunch with Elon Musk.
That sentence, my AI told me I should go have lunch with Elon Musk. Like, that should be a bumper sticker or something. Because that.
Yeah, well, I threw the questions into to the new ChatGPT, the 5.0, and it knows a lot about me. And it said I should have lunch with Elon Musk to discuss long-term visions, scaling principles, and leveraging technology to transform industries. I'm like,
all right,
that sounds pretty good.
Pretty close.
I have so many questions. That is just awesome on so many levels, which, by the way, we'll get into, but it's that you heard it first from Glenn talking to AI and it actually helping influence what he's doing. So it's a good one. And by the way, Elon Musk would be amazing to actually have a conversation with. You could actually focus them on a conversation.
I think our most common answer to that question is Jesus, but our second most common answer to that question is Elon Musk. Do with that information what you will. There it is. Yeah.
Keith, you want to start us off?
Sure. So you've given us a little bit about this, about the sort of origin story of EXP in the launch. I've always found when talking to entrepreneurs who are building stuff, like, share with us the highs, of course, but I love hearing about the lows, where there were those like I had to, I don't know, whatever, sell something to make payroll, or, like those gritty moments in where it could have went either way. Share with us some of the highs and lows that you've experienced and what you've learned in building such an impressive
social
company.
media, everybody thinks it's all glamour.
They just show their highlights,
and they
right?
just, nobody knows the shit sandwich that everybody eats along the way. So we wanted just to see what, they give us details.
Well, I mean, the first one sort of that was 2008. It was I think it was October, but my assistant kept on telling me that everything was fine. A couple of closings. Then she quit, and I found out that we hadn't paid the bills and our credit cards were maxed out. And so that was kind of an interesting deal, because I had to quickly raise about $150,000 just to get into 2009. And I really only had like a week or two to do it. And fortunately I did, and that made it through that. But that was probably the first major challenge in real estate, was what took place then. Obviously EXP, we launched it, it grew substantially. The one thing as an entrepreneur is that if you're doing something pretty interesting, there's a good chance there will be people who will try to take away from you.
Right. And
so I had to, and I'll be a little vague, but I've had to fight effectively a hostile takeover. And that was not pleasant at all. And I'm probably the most stressed out I've ever been in my life. Was there. And then I realized or learned about the fact that even though we were a public company, if you own more than 50% of the company, it certainly helps get the alignment back.
Right.
But the amount of posturing and saber rattling and legal posturing by various different people around that whole exercise was, I didn't know what I didn't know. And it was pretty stressful going through that. And so that was probably my biggest stressor in growing the company. Was
what would you say you learned from that experience, other than being the largest shareholder? It has its benefits.
Well, that's certainly the biggest one. I think a lot of people get distracted by being a public company. And what I mean is they start to focus on what Wall Street wants rather than what they should do. And I've been fairly principled. I mean, I think that's part of the reason why EXP is where it's at, is because of that principled stance. But if you'd been in some of the earlier boardroom conversations in 2014, 15, 16 especially, it was tough to hold the line, because I wasn't big enough yet to have made it.
Right.
And there was a lot of experts who on paper looked like they were the right people to be involved in helping us go to the next level. But they were also the same people that were basically trying to run it. I remember one person says, I don't run companies based on agent experience. I run companies based on P&Ls. And it was actually Net Promoter Score was what I was, because I was a big fan of Net Promoter Score. And that I recognized that as a disconnect. And I was saying, you don't get it. If you run it and actually build it for the agent, you will get the P&L.
Right.
But if you focus on the P&L, the agents won't want to be here. So 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 that but that narrative, I had to fight that in the boardroom with board members, with other people. Like, what is the purpose of the company?
Right.
Is it to make money for shareholders? Yeah, eventually.
Sure.
But it's not. It shouldn't be the primary reason why you exist.
How is we've interviewed a couple people who have run public companies, and we've had interesting responses. Some are like, it's great. Some are like, like, we'd never do it again. And the common theme we've heard from all of them is trying to keep your culture. that's the rub from Wall Street for dividends versus what you built as a founder and what your vision is. What was that? I guess my question is, how did you make sure that the culture stayed? I mean, I would argue from an outside perspective, your culture is stronger than it's ever been, in my opinion, just from an outside perspective. Like, how did you get that way when you've got somewhat, I'm being delicate here, but somewhat conflicting interests for what they want versus what you've built?
Yeah. The reality is if you read the best leaders in the history of business, they've all had a very customer-centric culture.
Mm-hmm.
And they've made decisions. So if you actually look at folks like Peter Drucker, and Peter Drucker, he really shaped a lot of the way that true business is done. It's about focusing on the customer and getting close to the customer, and you read him versus somebody like Milton Friedman. So Milton Friedman is like the consummate Wall Street guy. Like the only reason a company exists is to put money in shareholders' pockets. Like that's, and whereas whereas Peter Drucker is the only reason why a company exists is to serve a customer. And so founder, you're a founder, I'm a founder, from a founder perspective, it's really 100% customer driven. If something goes wrong, the customer's right. You got to make it right. And there's one of my favorite phrases, which I developed as an agent, which is there's not much in real estate that you can't solve with a checkbook.
It's true.
Like how many times did
I bought a lot of refrigerators, Glenn. I bought a lot of refrigerators when I was selling.
I bought a pool table once.
See? Yeah, there we go. There we go. I got a question. And we're jumping all over the place. I hope that's okay. But how hard was it? So I think in 2022, I think that's right. You hired Leo as CEO for EXP. I believe he was formerly the chief strategy officer.
Yeah. So last year he came on as CEO.
Last year, right. Correct. So you hired him in 2022. Last year he came on as CEO. So how, it's your baby? I don't think you had anyone sort of at the helm prior to that other than you. What's that? If somebody out there listening right now, some executives listening, and maybe they're thinking about their succession plan, what advice would you give them about how to, I don't know, get let go of your baby, or whatever analogy you want to use? What was that process like? And what advice would you give to someone considering bringing on a CEO, a founder bringing on a CEO?
That's a really good question.
There's two parts to that. One is that in most cases, if it's a founder run company, the founder never really fundamentally leaves.
Right.
So they and so I'm, not to say I'm involved in the day to day, because I'm not. Leo is like a freaking rock star, but but
you're there.
But I'm there, and and Leo and I chat quite a bit, and there's sort of that founder mentality. But Leo's, he comes from the same sort of cloth. And we're fortunate to be able to, or I was able to get connected with Leo. And there's a whole story on that. We were trying to hire a past CEO from a large company that didn't go through. And I don't know if you remember that story.
Yeah, I do.
But I asked that person, who would be your number two? And he says, well, Leo Perea. So that's how we met. So
interesting.
It's a small world, but man, I got to tell you, and we're not shy about it. I love Leo. He's brilliant, and what a great person to have working with you. I've got to know him over the past year, and he's very smart. So I guess my question follow up on that is, you found somebody that's cut from the same cloth. You guys think alike. You share the same values, which I know you both do, and that was, I'm assuming, a lot easier for you to feel comfortable with that decision.
Oh yeah, no, well, and that was, I had brought other people in that I was hoping could be that individual or person, and it's not easy to find someone that's culturally aligned. Now we both came out of the Keller system, so that was helpful. So that created some cultural alignment. He had been a top producer. He was number one
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Keller.
Yeah.
And I was in the top 50 when I left. And so having that sort of framework versus somebody who just came up through sort of corporate America, or, had just, sold a little bit of real estate and then got a corporate job. Like that was like, we've had those individuals who have come in, but that's just doesn't match up with our agents. Our agents respect people who've actually been there and done that. And
Yeah.
Leo's done it.
Yeah, for
At
sure.
a high level. Yeah.
Yeah, at a very high level. And you guys, and I say this lovingly, are total tech nerds, which is great too. So, you guys love that stuff, which we're going to get into. So Leo came in, he's CEO, and you guys obviously work together on a regular basis. But I know from conversations we've had, you're doing a lot of, you guys EXP, and then you are also heavily involved in international expansion. I think you said early in the podcast, 27 countries now. Is that right? Did I get that right?
I think, 27, 28 countries.
28.
I think we just announced Korea.
So this
Have
is
you done the Bahamas yet?
Yeah.
And can I do a site visit?
Hey,
I just want to visit.
yeah.
I just want to visit.
I want to ask this question because I'm going to ask it from a different way. We're obviously having lots of conversations about the way U.S. real estate operates versus other countries. But I want to ask, I'm going to frame that up with the following. As you moved into other countries, have you had to adjust your business model? And how did you frame EXP from the way it operates here versus there? Or is it exactly the same? How did you approach moving to a different, different countries?
So if you think about, the business of real estate, there's listing homes and selling homes, and that's consistent around the world. Mm-hmm. And generally in most markets, it's independent contractor relationship. You go out and you eat what you kill, and there's no safety net for you as a real estate professional. And this, again, everywhere in the world that kind of exists. And so for us, we think about the idea that, all real estate's local. How real estate is sold in one market is going to be totally different than it is in another market, especially talking country to country. But the needs of the agents stay the same. There's no safety net. They need support in terms of tools, training, and maybe and training is a little bit of a local training is probably better, but there's training and tools. And then there's the collaboration that you can sort of bring together in sort of a large network that kind of adds an additional item of value. But at the end of the day, we solve the biggest single pain point for a real estate professional anywhere around the world, which is that we provide hope in the form of the potential of earning extra income through helping the brokerage grow and becoming an equity shareholder in the company while doing the things that they do in their market that they're really good at.
The systems are different in other countries, I'm assuming, or lack thereof in many cases. Can you talk to us about the differences between the way the U.S. operates in other countries? I'm generalizing here, Glenn, but just
right. Well, I mean, the biggest one is that there's outside the U.S. and Canada, there is no such thing as cooperative real estate. It is basically everyone for themselves and every brokerage for themselves, and maybe they'll cooperate a little bit, but it's not designed from the ground up as a cooperative industry outside the U.S. and Canada.
But you're going into these markets as a broker, right? It's not a licensing deal, or is it? Or are you allowed to talk about that? Are we too far off?
No, we're going in as a business.
You're operating real estate in those countries.
Yeah, and in that, in the context of the business, there's different nuances as to who manages the business. Sometimes they're licensed, sometimes they're not. Sometimes there's ownership structures. So there's different hoops we have to jump through to be in business. But once we understand what those are, then we put that infrastructure in place in those countries.
Got it. So talk to us about this idea of real estate. You said kind of everybody's for themselves versus the U.S. and Canada. I know you guys are incredibly systems oriented. So is that a challenge for you when you get there? Trying to just understand how different things really are versus what we have here. So
yeah, no, it's quite a bit different. In that the larger brands or larger offices in different markets tend to do better because they have some corner on the market relative to inventory.
Okay.
And of course, we're dealing with this, in the U.S. with, everything going on with the Compass Zillow thing. So that's that's its own thing. But
I hadn't heard anything about that, Glenn. What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to dance into this thing, but I know
we don't have to go there.
Yeah.
I'm really focused on what it's like here versus the rest of the world, and the question's really related to, like, I guess I'm leading towards what happens if we start to diminish what we've got here.
So it gets really expensive really fast. And from an agent's perspective and a brokerage perspective, it is much more expensive to run anywhere in any other country than the U.S. and Canada. And it has to do with the way that the portals work in those countries. Realestate.com. No, that's let's see. REA Group.
Yeah, the realtor.au or whatever it's called.
Yeah, there's the one in Rightmove in the UK. So we're now the single largest brokerage in the UK. So we've got about 700 agents there. So our bill to Rightmove is over $2 million a year.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Explain. So give me the context.
Unpack that.
Unpack that. Like go deep on that for us. So we understand what is that $2 million. That's just to put the listings on there?
Portal access, basically.
It's just to put the listings on the portals. Yeah.
And because you have to pay to put it on each one, right? Like,
and it's almost there's a number of portals in the UK. It's Rightmove, Zoopla, and then On the Market, I think, is the number 3 one. But for all intents and purposes, if you're not on Rightmove, you don't get, your property basically doesn't get seen. So that they charge out the wazoo to be on Rightmove. And we
don't have to pay anything to put them on them here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It goes on to every portal here. Like the amount of advertising that a seller gets here in North America is incredible just by the syndication factors that take place. And for us in the US and Canada, we would be crazy not to syndicate or listings and or display listings on our website based on all the inventory that's available, because that is a value add to people visiting us. And then also it's a value add because every time we put a property on, it gets distributed to everybody else. And it's a great value. But over in every other market, you're typically advertising in 1 or 2, maybe 3, but usually it's the portal number 1 and potentially portal number 2. And you're spending whatever that number is. It's pretty significant per agent per year.
Do you have any idea what that is? Is it like $500 a month for a listing? Like, do you have any general idea?
So generally speaking, it costs about $300 per listing to market the listing on a portal.
Is that per month?
No, that's generally for the life of the listing, so plus or minus. Which isn't that bad. Now, I mentioned the UK, so it is based on the listing, but the reality is that the agents will affiliate with EXP because we'll pay that on their behalf. Because if they had to pay it, it could get prohibitively expensive. They're carrying 10 or 15 listings, and stuff's maybe not selling because there's feast and famine in this business, as we know. And all of a sudden they're going, how do I do this?
So can I summarize? You said just a few things. You said big companies have market share and they corner it. I'm assuming you're referring to the fact that they're trying to sell inventory internally. They're doing a lot of internal stuff. Is that I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm just trying to understand. It's
100% internal. Like there is no such thing as an external marketplace in most places outside the world.
Got it.
The external marketplace is to generate traffic to the listing agent at your firm.
Yeah. So basically, if you don't work for one of the big companies, it's really hard to get a foothold in the area because they've got all the inventory. So here we have this beautiful system. You can be as big or small as you want, but there it's much harder to start. Is that it?
Right. And if we didn't have the ability to invest millions of dollars per year into opening up new markets, we wouldn't be able to get the foothold. Because if you look at our financials, I mean, we spent
Yeah.
10, $15 million a year just to expand in
To
these
get in.
international markets.
Yeah. Yeah. But what I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one unique thing that you're doing is, one, you're operating a brokerage in these markets. A lot of people just cut a licensing deal and keep it moving. And then two, you're not like judging how they do it. You're just getting in the mix and then finding a way to be competitive. Similarly, that different marketplace, right? Different tech stack, different approach. But how can we bring that core of what EXP is into these various marketplaces, like rewarding people for growth or covering the $300 to get it on the portal, and right? Like you're bringing that EXP-ness, that's not really a word, but you're bringing that essence of who you are into these marketplaces versus just cutting a licensing deal and keeping it moving. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are companies, like if you look at look at Remax, how they operated. Remax kind of sold their territories off. Like if you look at like their
it's very
that
common.
was a full licensing deal, and they make very little revenue from their international markets, where we actually own the offices and the staffing and everything else.
I have one follow-up, and then we'll get to this. I want to jump into AI, especially with an article you wrote that I thought was really, really cool. I guess without diving too far into the weeds, you would benefit the most about taking the same market share idea of holding inventory back and trying to sell everything internally within EXP. I mean, you're the largest brokerage by unit volume by a long shot of anybody else. Just tell me, I guess, so everybody understands, like if you played this game that's trying to be played by others, it would be a really big move, probably benefit your shareholders. Like, what's the reason you don't? What's the, not that I want you to, by the way, I'm just asking the question so that people can hear it from you directly.
I think, I recognize, because of my growing up at 23 years in the industry, I recognize the value that this industry provided to me as an entrepreneur, as a small business person, to come in and carve a new way of doing the business. And what I think about is the idea of, is this a business that's going to be dominated by a few major players, or is it going to be an industry where the best ideas can emerge, independent of sort of trying to leverage monopoly power? And that's the business that I tend to want to be in. Like I want to win on our merits, not because somebody has to be a part of us. I want to be able to, and so that's where my head's at. We all know what it's like to be involved with companies that have monopoly power. You got a cable bill?
Yeah. Right. No fun.
Service goes
out the window. Right.
Yeah, service goes down across the board when there are true monopolies in an industry.
Captive. Right.
I think that keeping it competitive, it benefits consumers, it benefits agents. They actually work at the business. And then if you think about what happens if, obviously EXP would be, at least in the short run, a beneficiary of that. But if it becomes big box brokerage, what does that look like, 5 or 10 years from now? Because it's the, 2 or 3 or 4 big brands that control everything. Because I think the service level goes down. I think the quality of agent goes down. I think there's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't even think there is such a thing at that point, because what you'll also see is monopolies will start to raise their prices on their customer being their agent, once those monopoly pieces sort of kick into place. And that's, in my mind, we're all about the agent, and means keeping an efficient system in place so that they can earn what we believe they should be able to earn in this industry.
I'm glad there are people like you running very large companies that are willing to say that as well, because the three of us have been in this industry a long time, and to see it get crushed would be, with all the progress that's been made, it's just disheartening sometimes. All right, so let's transition here. You wrote a post called "The Death of Courses."
Yeah.
And why AI is forcing a complete rethink of business education. So you had I'm sorry, I'm reading your post because I actually was reading it and then I went and read the article, but you had lunch with John Lee, the author John Lee, when you were in London, and you were like, had this whole reframe of mindset for you. So talk to us about that. Like you went down this whole rabbit hole. So
Yeah. So I'll kind of pull the curtain back a little bit.
All right.
So John Lee and I, we've been pretty connected since the Clubhouse days. Remember the app that was on the phone? That
Sure.
What happened to that?
It's dead.
Is that still around?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So he had a room there, and so I met him there, and then he spoke at a couple of keynotes. So we built a relationship, and he's all about some AI coaching and training, and I enjoyed spending time with him. And so I, as a bit of an experiment, I was wearing the Limitless pendant at our dinner. And I literally took the transcript from the dinner and I threw it into AI and said, based on this meeting, what should I write an article on?
Limitless is just a recording device, right? That captures.
It's like Plaid is another one.
It's all tied into the IRS and the Department of Justice and the CIA. Just everybody knows that. Just want to make sure everybody caught that.
The views being expressed.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
What isn't?
Yeah, right.
What is it?
Yeah, my point. Yeah. Hold on, let me get my aluminum foil hat. I'll be right back. Yeah.
If there are bits crossing the internet, somebody's listening.
Somebody's scraping them. Yeah.
All right, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So then I literally spent all of about 15 minutes writing that article after that dinner. And it was to some extent a thought experiment to see, could I, from a conversation, build some good content that I could then share? And sure enough, that's what it spit out. Now, I do agree with it, and it came from our conversation.
Right.
And it actually plays into what I'm doing on the success side of the house. But it was partially around just, how do you use tools and tech to sort of build more stuff that people would consume to level up in some capacity. But the article itself was about how there's I think it's coach salting was the term that John had mentioned, which is that people don't want to take another online course on how to do stuff. They want somebody to actually help them and be sort of involved in actually doing the thing. So building out your CRM drip campaign that I'm sure every single real estate agent has built out for their business.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
They're in it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. They can certainly attend at least 4 or 5 classes just this week on how to build their drip campaign.
Right. Maybe today. Yeah.
Yeah. And yet how many of them have really built it? Like virtually, like 2%, 5%.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the idea is like, do we need another course to teach us how to do stuff, or do we need somebody to sort of be partnered with us to actually get it done?
So a question so first of all, the article I really enjoyed, and the backstory I like even more. But if AI is better at accessing information. I think that's true today. I think you'd agree with that, right? Like it's consumed and internalized all of the available information that's out there. And it's getting better at implementation too. And so for humans, like, what's the moat for done with you / done for you? Like, how far are we away from where the AI just says, hey, Glenn, I know what you read. I know what you like. Your drips should look like this. Just click the button and I'll start them.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're using ChatGPT all day, every day as a real estate professional, you could actually, your AI could actually build that for you today with one prompt.
Yeah. Yeah.
It knows enough about you, knows enough about your market. You've talked to it enough about your clients. You've talked enough about your marketing strategies. And now if you said, hey, can you build me a drip campaign for, Kalamazoo where I live? and based on my style of real estate, it would actually, and make it a 15 drip campaign, it would write 15
So
really good emails.
do we need courses anymore? Is it just about execution?
So
You get where I'm coming from? Like, if it's that good at implementation, do I even need a course?
Yeah, you do, because we're really moving toward what I think about as a wisdom-based economy, and meaning that we're AI without a wise person is really not very useful.
Yeah.
Even ChatGPT 5 came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a bozo, you're going to get bozo content out of ChatGPT.
I like it.
It's another quote, by the way.
Very, very technical label.
But,
I like it.
But if you've got business experience and acumen, and you're a systems-based thinker, then AI can be hugely valuable to your business and can take your business. You could probably 2 or 3x your business if you're a systems thinker using AI.
Yeah.
But if
funny.
you're
Go ahead.
you're just all over the place and you use AI, then it's probably not going to help you that much, because you yourself aren't organized to actually take the stuff that's giving you to implement.
Yeah, my version of the wisdom-based economy, although I like yours better, so I may borrow it, but is Bennett's. I think the most important feature that a professional will need in the future is creativity.
Yeah.
The ability to think really creatively about how to ask questions, about how to shape your interaction with AI to get a new, better, or different result. Like that creative, that you can't just, be an artist, right? Not that creative, maybe business creative, which probably sounds a lot like wisdom when you boil it down to its essence. But I really think you're correct. The AI isn't just going to take over. Maybe someday, right? And that's why I'm always polite when I'm talking to it, just in case that matters. But in between here and the end of the world, the people who can use wisdom and or creativity, pick your word, to fit in there, they're going to get a massive competitive advantage, at least in the near term.
Yeah, and I think it's you have to spend time with it, and you have to be organized. Because if you don't spend time with AI, and there's a lot of people who don't, and by the way, they're probably living better lives than we do if we're spending all the time.
Right. They're also not on social media, so
just sitting here talking to my bot at night. Yeah, that's fun, super fun. Yeah,
right.
It's like that last South Park episode,
Guys, it's gotten good again, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, we've only got a few minutes left. I want to ask we have 2 questions. I'm going to ask one. Keith will follow up with the end. And we'd love your crystal ball. I know you hate these questions, but go as deep as you want on it. But like your crystal ball on real estate over the next, I'm going to say 5 years, because Keith and I are both in the camp. There's a lot of transformational stuff happening in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Could be models, could be agents, could be MLS, Mark, Ellie, whatever you think. Like, give us your sort of where you think things will look like in the next 5 years. And you can go as deep or as high level as you want.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly going to see more folks in the cloud-based real estate brokerage models, the bricks and mortar light business models. You're going to see a lot more AI enablement at the consumer level, meaning that they're going to be
smarter, asking deeper questions.
Well, and then the other piece is, I think about the idea that you will have your own AI that your consumers can connect to with their AI to actually sort of negotiate just the relationship before you ever meet. So I think there's, what's going on the AI front is nothing short of transformational. So even though, I think about the wisdom-based economy, there will be big time winners and there's going to be big time losers in that transformation. And if you're not actively involved in some capacity with AI, you will get left behind as a real estate professional. You're going to have agents are going to be able to do 3 to 4 times as many transactions per agent if they choose to than they do today. And there'll probably be 1/4 the staff behind them to do the back office work. And beyond that, I don't know that I've got any good predictions, but I do think that those ones you could probably hang your hat on over the next few years.
A lot more efficiency in the next 18 to 24 months are going to come into all markets, right? Every business.
Every business. I mean, I built over the last, I just launched something on yesterday on social media. So I jumped into to Success Mag 2 weeks ago officially, but this last week we were getting ready to release the latest issue of Success Magazine. I'm like, well, we need to turn that into a lead funnel. So real estate agents, of course, need leads. So for us, so I'm like, okay, well, why don't I take the magazine and turn it into an AI? So I created a custom GPT with the magazine. And then I said, okay, well, now I need to build a funnel for it. And so with another platform, I said, build me a funnel for it. And it built the whole funnel. And I did what would have taken weeks, if not months. And I did it in like 48 hours.
Right.
Like, and it looks good. And
with long breaks for lunch in 48
With long
hours.
breaks for lunch. Well, yeah. Wait for the AI to do its
Yeah,
thing. But
right. Yeah. Wow. I got one more question on the AI stuff, then I'll ask you the closing question if that's all right. So we're going to run a little over, James. You can blame me.
No, fine.
This coach salting topic, right? May I play skeptic for just a moment on your because
for sure
you've coached a lot of agents. I'm sure I've coached a bunch of agents. Telling them what to do isn't the hard part. Getting them to do it is the hard part. So how is coach salting just a different delivery mechanism but it doesn't really solve the core problem of taking action and accountability? Or is there going to be an accountability bot that's part of this coach salting and it's going to know me and what motivates me and blah, blah, blah? Or how do you see that? Because the broken part is in the doing, not in the what to do.
It's in the doing, but it's also in the paying. Meaning that people will actually sort of follow things that they pay for. So I think the reason why coaches to some extent are valuable is because I just spent, $1,000 for a coach this month. I better darn well do what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So there's value in the paying, but there's a large audience who can't pay. There's a large number of people who can't pay at like $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever the number is for coaching. I think there's a really big market for AI-based coaching with
it's like the gateway drug.
Well, a little bit of the gateway drug in that if it's connected to your text messaging system as well, and it's like you haven't checked in within 48 hours, it's actually sending you text message and going, trying to pull you back in and to get you sort of more. So there's some gamification that I think we can do with AI that can help people stay more accountable.
Giving them nudges, right? Giving them nudges, giving them other opportunities.
I'll use this one because another quote. The reason why most men, I'll speak for men, the reason why most men get married is because they need an accountability partner.
I am not touching that.
Come on, James.
I'm going to leave that one.
James, your thoughts?
Nope.
No? All right.
For once, I don't actually have an opinion. So, here's the first.
It might be just the first marriage.
Yeah.
Well, Keith and I are experienced at the marriage thing.
Yo, bro. Why?
I'm bringing you in here too, smartass.
What did I do? I'm just catching strays for no reason.
You both got really red all of a sudden. Hey, with that, let's transition before we get canceled.
So,
to
Glenn,
the final question.
If you were an agent or a brokerage, what's the one thing you would implement today to help your business for the rest of 2025 and into 2026? Get married?
Not get marriage advice?
No. Marry my AI.
Haven't signed a prenup though.
No, if I'm an agent or a broker, the reality is that you need a trusted advisor, and I think, quite frankly, the trusted advisor that most people need to lean in on is AI. Your AI becomes your trusted. You can brainstorm with it in ways that it's hard to do with human beings.
You're right. Yeah, it's. I've officially reached the point in my what I'll call my AI journey, where I talk to it like a person, which is a little strange. And I value its feedback and thought. I don't always agree with it, but I mean, I have a bunch of crazy situations going on in my life that are new and I haven't experienced before, and that I'm steep learning curve. And I don't know how I would have gotten that much information processed that quickly, that I could understand that simply. It would have taken me hours and hours and hours and hours of researching medical journals and all sorts of other stuff. And I got it in minutes and seconds, and the doctor would come in and I could ask him questions and looking at me like, what, did you go to med school? No, I just got ChatGPT, dummy. Right. So the experience, I think you get to a point at first where you try it and you're like, this is kind of dumb. Like I could have Googled this. Right. And then, but as you stick with it and you have these interactions with it and these experiences with it, and you start finding and seeing how it can really impact your life. For me, I've just hit that tipping point where it really is an integral part of my life that I use, not daily, but I mean, like not more than hourly, if not minutely, which isn't a thing. And I think you just sort of, in my experience, I'm curious your thoughts, and then I promise we'll wrap this up. But was that your experience in the beginning to now? And is there ways to shortcut that? Or let me ask it this way. If I'm someone listening who isn't really on the AI train yet, what would you recommend I do?
Well, the AI's got so much better. Like for me, when first ChatGPT 3.5 came out, I thought it was novel.
Yeah. Novel's a great way to describe it, actually.
Yeah. 4.0, I started to use it a bit more. When I started to actually, develop custom GPTs last year, and then figure out sort of a lot of the values around that, I was like, this is a bit of a game changer, because it allows you to sort of scale. I call it scaling culture through AI. And then the last piece that is now with the newest models, like I'm big, use Claude quite a bit, use ChatGPT quite a bit. Like they're getting good, especially when you like really help it narrow how it coaches you. So, in ChatGPT, I'm using projects. And so I've got my support documents in each project, so it stays in the lane that I need it to be. But I think now you got custom GPTs that can use GPT-5. And I'm really interested to see how good this is. But I'm pretty confident that we've just now going to see something even more incredible. But I think once you have to play with it a bit, you have to try this stuff out a bit, and eventually you'll go, I can really do some stuff. And of course, if you're an entrepreneur, I think it really is a great tool for an entrepreneur. If you're just going to use it like Google, it's going to be okay. But but if you're an entrepreneur, you got to be using some sort of AI to help you organize.
I totally agree.
Glenn, thank you for being here. Your wisdom, your quotes, the humor that I'm going to get canceled for. I'm quite certain of that.
It'll get you more viewership.
For sure.
We are.
For sure.
It was great conversation. It was truly a great conversation, my friend. Congrats, absolutely, by the way, on all your success. Genuinely, we love seeing people that have made it up the ranks and done all that, especially with the challenges. It was good that people hear your story too, that it wasn't all just easy. So
and let's do we'll wait a while, but let's do a full episode on AI sometime where we really dig in on it. Yeah.
Okay, I'll set my AI up, and you can invite it on.
Perfect, and it'll just answer the questions. I love it. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it so much.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Don't make a rookie mistake. Subscribe now, because Keith will teach you how to be smart in residential real estate.